And we are live. Hey, everybody, this is Writing Daily. Whether you are writing a letter to your grandmother or working on the great American novel, we are here to help you write better, more often, more effectively, and go through all the different processes about what it is to be a writer. Today, I'm going to be talking about the final manuscript and signing off on it. Anyway, this is Devin Galaudet, the editor-in-chief of In the Know Traveler. Every day we talk about writing here. I have an MFA in creative writing, and I am the author of the forthcoming book, 10,000 Miles with My Dead Father's Ashes. So what am I talking about the final manuscript? At some point, you're done. And so this episode is all about that process and what it looks like and what it sounds like and how do you do it. So let me kind of backtrack a little bit about where my thought process is. I think it was probably in the late 80s that Salman Rushdie wrote a book called Satanic Verses. I think the book itself was widely acclaimed, and he upset the Muslim population, and a certain percentage of those people really were very offended and upset by that. So part of that is, well, maybe there was a misunderstanding, or maybe Rushdie had crossed some kind of line of good taste. But the truth of the matter is, at some point, and this is kind of what I'm going to be talking about, is at some point he had to say, okay, whatever I've written, we're done. Whatever the reaction is going to be, we're done. In other words, he was signing off. In other words, maybe he knew he was going to write something that was going to upset some people, maybe not. But whatever the case may be, it doesn't really matter. At some point, when you're signing off on your manuscript, you're signing off on changing it or softening it or anything else. So what I did a couple days ago, actually at 1 o'clock in the morning, a couple nights ago, was sign off on my manuscript. And if you have been with us every day, I think you probably noticed that there was an episode on changing the names to protect the innocents, and whether or not you use profanity in writing, and if so, how much, and a whole variety of sort of things that you might want to start considering. And that's kind of what I've been going through over the last couple of weeks, is that I'm sort of like, yes, I want to have the punctuation just right. Fortunately, there's other people who are experts in that are working with the publisher and myself to make sure that happens correctly. But there's other things, whether I used family names, was it appropriate? Do they need to be dragged into this if they didn't need to be? I spoke to my sister, hey, can I use your name? These were all sort of like considerations that I had to go through. And then there was a point where, okay, I've gone through this manuscript many times over the last 7 years, plus the editing process. And now that the publisher had it, I went through the book, I would like to think, with a fine-tooth comb on 2 different occasions over the last several weeks. And I went through every edit, and I went through every idea, and all the things that was like, I don't know, am I being gratuitous here? I would highlight. I would write the editor and say, hey, what have I done here? Is this acceptable? Is it not acceptable? And to be quite frank with you, it's in some cases, it was a bit of a tough call. Am I making the right decision? Because at some point, this is going to get published, and people's reactions are going to be what they are. I'm not too worried about what somebody thinks of me, whatever. But I did want to at least think about what it was that I was saying, how I was saying it, and at some point, regardless of how somebody's going to take it, and I imagine there's going to be a few people who are not going to be happy with what I wrote and how I wrote it, I have to be signing off on it. In other words, if I swore too much and somebody leaves some derogatory comment on Amazon, I accept that. If somebody thinks I should have said better, nicer things or gotten to the ending sooner, whatever happened, I'm signing off on it. And that's what I've already done. So I guess the main crux of this episode is you're going to be writing your short story. You're going to be writing your memoir. You're going to be writing your fiction. And no matter how you do it, there's probably somebody who's going to be annoyed. The only person that you really have to take into consideration is it acceptable to you? Because whatever it is that you do, like once it's in print, online, it's a little bit easier. Like if you have your own blog, you put up a blog post, 20 people write that you're a jerk face for having written what you wrote. You can either engage them in dialogue, defending why you wrote what you wrote, ignore them completely, or actually take it down. With print, which my book is going to be in, is not really, like, whatever discussion needed to take place has already taken place. I'm officially signing off on all the slang, on all the profanity, on all the scenes that might make somebody uncomfortable, on all the things that I said. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I take full responsibility for that. And that's something that we've talked about a lot here. And the important thing to understand is that this is what part of writing is. Part of writing is embracing the fact that you're going to do it, and it may not, the results of how people respond to the writing is going to be precisely that. I'm crossing my fingers that it's going to be a lot of 5-star reviews. I've worked very hard on it, and I think hopefully somebody won't pick some weird, obscure objection just to find a reason to object. But ultimately, I had to sign off on it, meaning I'm letting go of whatever somebody else's reaction is to that. Because at some point, to be quite frank with you, if I have ruffled a few feathers during the course of my writing, then I probably did it right. So anyway, as always, we have a magic box over here where you can write about where you can ask questions about whatever you think is appropriate. You can certainly like me on Facebook so you know when I do this all the time. Constance, hi, welcome, and thanks for joining. And so, I answer every question, every comment. If you have a suggestion of a particular topic, let me know. Let's cover it. If you have a rebuttal to something that I've said, let's rebut. Again, that's why we use this thing. But if you like what we're doing, please make sure to like us on Facebook, give us a thumbs up, follow us on Twitter, all that kind of good stuff. I do this every day because it keeps me motivated, and I'm crossing my fingers that you're loving it as well, so we can keep writing this thing together and putting out wonderful art into the world. Anyway, that's what I've got for today. We've got a little bit of a short one, and thanks so much for joining us, and I hope to see you guys really soon. Thanks for being here.